My name is Patty Paul, and the name of this show is Living Wisdom. Today, I'm happy to introduce my friend Lyn Eyman. Lyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Lyn is a channel, and she's going to be channeling an unconditionally loving being friend by the name of Dillon. And Lyn and I have decided that we want to devote most of our airtime today to Dillon and Dillon's wisdom and insights. And so, Lyn, with that, I'm going to invite you to begin your channeling process. And the opening credits will roll. Dillon is almost with us. Lyn is completing her channeling process.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, dear one.
Good afternoon, Dillon. Welcome to this show. I've been so looking forward to having you as a guest on my show. So I'm just delighted that you're here. As you know, Lyn and I had been talking about the various subjects that you might want to speak about today in this first show. And we thought, topics that are common to every human being, such as perfection, self-acceptance, freedom, self-love, those kinds of things might be appropriate.
Just those little
items.
Yes.
And with that, I'm just going to let you speak and share and whatever feels right for you, Dillon.
Well, thank you. It is a pleasure to be here, as it always is when we speak. And here we have a larger audience than usual, and that is fun for us. And we have been looking forward to it and very excited. So what we're going to speak about first, we start off with that Bugaboo Perfection. And it is an issue for every person that takes a breath. And it starts out with being taught as a child. Parents have this directive, so to speak, to teach their children certain behaviors that are acceptable in order for them to grow up to be functioning human beings. And unfortunately, they teach the way they have been taught, and in that they unwittingly bring in this Bugaboo of Perfection. For instance, when they start to color in a coloring book, when they're just small, 2 years old, they take that color and they go all over the place. And the parents think it's cute, and that's fine. But then they will, on an opposite page, color within those lines. And the message that the child gets is that what they did was not right, and the way to get total approval is to do it the way the parent did it, inside the lines. So they start with the subliminal messaging very early that there is a right way and a wrong way to do things, and the way to get love and approval is to do it perfectly. And without that perfection, that love is not 100%, the success is not 100%, and so it's subliminally taught from a very early age that perfection is the way to go. So you grow up with that idea that in order to have love, in order to be loved, in order to be successful, you need to be perfect or as close to it as you can get. Well, the problem with that is, and of course you think, well, what's wrong with that? Well, we'll tell you. In that, what you really need so much in your life is creativity. And perfection stifles creativity. You cannot be creative if you're trying to do it precisely this way, in this coloring inside the lines, so to speak. Where's the creativity in that? There is none. So in order to be creative, you cannot have perfection. So you can see the war. Well, you see, why do we need creativity unless you're an artist and you paint or you sing or you write songs? Well, creativity is in every aspect of your life and very important for success. Secretaries take scribbles and raw data and make it into beautiful presentations, beautiful graphs. That takes creativity. Businessmen, to make a successful business function, takes creativity. To make a sale takes creativity. There you can see that it is in more of your life than you think. To be a successful partner in a relationship takes creativity. And biggest of all, to be a successful parent takes a great deal of creativity, among other things. Mm-hmm. So you can see from all the list of where creativity is so important that perfection is definitely not what is needed. Creativity is what is needed. You can't have both. Which would you choose? So, how do you get away from the perfection? How do you get that out of your brain that you need that? You go back and you look at your past and think about how you were taught, what messages you got from your parents, from your teachers, from those in authority in your life. Look at it and see how it was encouraged. What ideas do you have about perfection yourself? You have people who are looking for relationships, and they go from one relationship to another looking for the perfect one. There is no such animal. You find a relationship that makes you feel good about yourself, and then you build on it and you use the creativity to make it better. And the same with a job. In this economy, almost everyone knows someone who's looking for a job or who is a job hopper, trying to find that perfect job. There again, there is no such animal. You find one that fulfills you and makes you feel good about yourself, and you build on it. You work with it. And many people spend their whole lives chasing perfection. And it's not going to get you what you're looking for. So it's time to realize that and let it go.
It creates an awful lot of stress, too, inner stress, because, of course, we're trying to be perfect ourselves. Impossible to do.
Absolutely. And that is a very good source of anxiety. A lot of people on medication for anxiety. And this is part of why. So, if you grow up thinking that perfection is going to bring you love, and we're telling you it won't, then what will? What will bring you love? Look at your relationship. You must have someone in your life whom you love. What is it about them that makes them lovable to you? Perhaps they're giving, perhaps they're nurturing, perhaps they're fun, perhaps they're always there when you need them the most. Make a list of what it is about this person that you love. You won't find perfection on that list. Very few perfect people, or of course that doesn't exist, but there are those that try so hard that they get very close and They're very difficult to live with.
Overachievers, type A personalities, those labels have been applied to such
Absolutely,
people.
absolutely. So you figure out what it is that you love about this person, and you turn it back toward yourself.
Oh,
Be very nurturing to yourself. Be very accepting of yourself. Be willing to listen to yourself. And you see how you can turn that around.
great suggestion.
And then, of course, when you do it for yourself, it makes it easier to do it for others. And as you love, so you will be loved. So that's where you get the love. Well, what about success? All right, first you want to look at what is success. There is a quote that our channel found that we think is very good about what success really is. And it is, success is liking who you are, liking what you do, and liking how you do it.
That's great.
And that quote is by Maya Angelou.
Ah.
I believe she is a poet. And it just seems such a good definition of what success is. Is perfection going to bring you that? No. Liking who you are. That's accepting yourself with all your warts, with all your faults. Everyone has them. How boring is it to be around perfection? Interesting people are unique. They have idiosyncrasies. Idiosyncrasies used to be very much appreciated. And there are still places where that is true, but not so much. It seems like too often now conformity is what is strived for, where uniqueness makes us who we are, makes you interesting, makes it fun to be around you. There is no one else quite like you. And how wonderful that is. Each person has their own uniqueness. All you have to do is accept that you are unique. There is nothing wrong with it being unique. In fact, there is very much right in being unique. So accept yourself. Perhaps there are things about yourself that you would like to change, and so therefore you do it not because you feel you have to, but because it would bring you to do something in your personality that you're not totally happy with. But appreciate who you are, what you can bring to the table, so to speak. Each person has their own laundry list of talents and gifts. And you may not even look at them as talents and gifts. Perhaps you have a talent of communication. Obviously you do, since you are taping shows for people to learn from and grow from. Another may have a talent for making people feel comfortable. Another may have a gift for listening. And so often people miss that in their life, being heard. Everyone has their list of talents and gifts. Recognize that you have your own and appreciate that. Let that be what you like about yourself, rather than this striving for perfection that gets you nowhere. Or where it does get you, you don't want to be.
It's something I certainly have personally dealt with from time to time throughout my life. mentioned earlier how children get messages from caregivers early on about perfection. My primary caregiver when I was just a little girl was my grandma, a very loving German lady. And I remember one of her things that she repeated often was, if a thing is worth doing at all, it's worth doing right. And of course the hidden message is, that means perfectly. So I've been dealing with that one as well.
Well, the channel, when she was, around 12 or so, her mother decided that she should be taught how to iron. That was back in the days when all clothes were ironed. There was no such thing as permanent press.
I heard about those days.
And so therefore she was taught the basics of ironing. And let me tell you, that is something that she does under dire protest, because for her mother, perfection was there. She had to do that same blouse over and over and over until it was perfect. And the messages from that, besides the fact that she would bow down and worship whoever created permanent press, was that when she did it, she couldn't do it right. She couldn't do it good enough. And somehow at that age, she brought it in that she wasn't all right, that she wasn't good enough. And all too often, you have seen it happen, and perhaps even done it yourself, where you ask someone to do something for you and then turn around and fix it.
Yes.
Make it right.
As a mother, I have to plead guilty to that in my early days when my children were younger.
It is so natural, but it gives the message that what they did was not good enough. And for children, their world revolves around them, and therefore, if they're not doing it right, they internalize it to they're not all right. And yes, you must teach them, but you need to temper that with the ability to teach in such a way that doesn't turn it back upon them, that they did it wrong.
And I think letting them know that it's okay to make mistakes and that we can learn from our mistakes.
Absolutely. Very, very important. So you see where perfection is a trap. And to look at that, to look at what it means to you, what messages have been put inside of you about being perfect, and about how to get love, how to be successful through perfection rather than through creativity and having fun. What good is success if you can't have fun at it? It's like, is it just for the money? Of course money needs to be there. It's how you live. But the fun needs to be there, the joy of it. And it needs to be in love. Love has joy in it. It is one of the ingredients. And if you're always working so hard and all uptight to do it just right, to find that just right person, to find that just right anything, then you're closing out the joy, the fun. And you don't want to do that. So think about it. Write down some of your beliefs, some of your attitudes around perfection, what you have been taught, what you expect of others. That is so common in expecting others to be perfect. And of course, that's not going to work. So You need to look at perfection and let it go out of your life. Let it just tippy-toe. And at first that's all you'll be able to do, for this is major for people to let go of these beliefs, these attitudes. So don't try to all of a sudden do it all at once.
And then say, oh, finished with that one.
It's done. It won't happen, and you'll get discouraged. You'll worry about not doing it perfectly, and you'll be right back in it again.
What I've noticed, and Lyn and I were talking about this aspect on the drive here, I've, of course, worked on so many of my issues over the years, peeling the layers of the onions back, and then often find myself in a situation where someone in my work environment or up close in my social life is reflecting back their perfection, so to speak. They're being that almost a caricature of perfectionist, and how that perhaps is a reflection of a part of me that still needs some more work. Would you kind of address that aspect?
Well, what that is your growth goes in an upward spiral. So if you deal with perfection at the ground level, which is where many of your viewers will start if they hear this for the first time, they're dealing with it down here. Then things change in their life, because they will. When you let go of this, things will change within you and showing in your reality. Without, you're going to start up this spiral, and so therefore it will come at you again, but from a higher place, perhaps a ratchet up, so to speak, in intensity. So you'll look at it from that viewpoint, take care of it in that particular instance, and you'll go along and you'll see a change in yourself and a change in your reality, and you'll see it again at a yet higher level. Each time it comes back, it is not because you are being bad and wrong and you've done it wrong. It's because you are at another level and able to look at it more deeply. And therefore, it is a good thing. And not to get impatient with yourself for, oh, I could have sworn I took care of that.
Oh,
In fact,
yeah.
I know I took care of that. And that's not it at all. Of course you took care of it at that level. You're up here now.
That's good for all of us to know that it does come around again. Usually we've learned how to deal with these things more quickly, more consciously. So it does become easier, I have found.
And another thing that happens very frequently is that when you get to this level up here, you are willing to look at a deeper level of pain, perhaps, than you were willing to look at before.
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. I hadn't quite gotten that bit before.
Yes.
A deeper level of pain, okay.
Pain is the very last thing that you willingly experience. You do experience in your life, but it's usually not willingly.
Yeah.
To deliberately go into it takes a level of confidence in yourself and in your tools, your resources, to know that it's like a boil. It will heal better if it is lanced.
Yeah.
And so when you reach that, oftentimes it is because you are willing to go that deeper level, to lance that boil of pain, to release what is there.
That's great. I just got a cue that we have 2 minutes left. I know there's no time in your reality, Dillon, but this is...
We do understand
I know
the
you
concept.
do. Anyway, so we'll talk out the rest of the time as best we can. On the drive here, I related to Lyn a recent experience that I had of going back to an old issue of feeling rejected. And as I followed that through, where did that originate? And I remembered in childhood a similar situation of feeling that pain of feeling rejected. Is that what the kind of thing you're talking about?
Oh, absolutely. When we have what we have told people is when you have an issue that gets in your face to the point where it keeps you awake at night or you can't stop thinking about it, that's an issue you are begging yourself to deal with. And the best way to do it is to think, when was the first time I felt this way?
That's a great tip, and with that I think we're going to be finishing our time here. Dillon, I want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your insights today.
It has been a joy.
And for those who have tuned in late, Dillon is an unconditionally loving being who is channeled by Lyn Eyman, who is the human being sitting in this chair opposite me. I'm Patty Paul. You've been watching the Living Wisdom Show, and I want to thank you for your attention and say goodbye until the next time.